Hey hustlers, welcome back to another episode on Ingrid Project. Today I have a question that I received multiple times on the Instagram questions that I wanted to address, and it is about what motivates me, what my purpose is, and all of that. And I'm gonna keep it real with you guys, and I'm not gonna give a bullshit answer because I feel like a lot of people give a BS answer to this, and it drives me insane. So without further ado, let's get into it. However, I do want to recommend, if you have not tried it already, Nescafe came out with a instant coffee, Café de Olla, and it is so good. And I am so thankful to someone special for obtaining this for me. I don't know how, from like the depths of Mordor, after I hadn't been able to find it anywhere. So drink some Nescafe Cafecito de Olla and let's get into this episode. So since I'm not gonna give a BS answer, we're about to get deep. So let me read the question. So the question I received was, what motivated me on this path of life / what motivates me, what is my why? So I have two facets to this question. One, I want to talk about my upbringing, because some of you that follow this channel have known me since I was like 12, 13, and I think you guys have always seen me in a certain light. And then I want to address the question from a more evolved standpoint, going to therapy, understanding my BS, like my past demons, blah 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 blah, and how that makes me perceive life differently, because I think that that's important. So as many of you know, a lot of times like people have like this crazy story of like, oh, I'm motivated because of XYZ, like something happened to me in my life, like a trauma thing, or whatever. Like there's always like some backstory, and guess what, I have a backstory too. But I want to talk about this. Like, so growing up, before all the troubles in my childhood, like I was always a natural leader. I was very curious. I got in trouble at school. Like I found my report cards one time a while ago, and they said like, Ingrid talks too much in class. And it's like I was always talkative, inquisitive, wanted to make friends, and so on. However, the sudden like separation of my parents and how that affected me as a child, unfortunately, I think a lot of people that watch this channel might relate. Growing up with single parents, a lot of times you seek validation and attention that you don't get from home, from other places. For me, in this case, I decided to be a teacher's pet. So I became a very academic student, tried to do my best, tried to get like that validation from teachers and peers. And I wasn't necessarily very smart, but I always like tried very hard, because that's where I got like my attention from. Now, as I got older, I realized that obviously that wasn't necessarily a good way to cope, and I threw myself into other things, like into sports, into different organizations. And I think it was like to kind of like fill that void and seek validation and attention from other people, from other groups, whatever. Now, as I grew up, of course, like I started therapy, I realized those things, and I decided, hey, I need to seek that validation within myself, become a secure person, work on my confidence, determine like my own self-worth, stop being a people pleaser, and so on, setting boundaries, evolving as a human being. So my motivation before having, I guess you could say, that enlightenment in my life, because I started going to therapy when I was a little bit older. Honestly, I felt like I was just trying to do something productive with my pain. There were many times where I felt like if I've gone through all this bullshit and all these hard troubles in my life, well, it better damn well be worth something. And so I kind of put that pain and that hard time to work. And I suggest maybe you do the same. That's why you see a lot of people that, you know, they talk about like, oh, you like behind every gym rat, there's like someone who's brokenhearted, or people get like this glow up phase after they break up with someone because they start taking care of themselves and all this. And like, no shame on them. I've been there too, but it's because they're doing something productive with their pain. Like this is a common way to cope. I think it's definitely one of the better ways to cope, like doing something productive with your pain versus alcohol, partying, things that actually leave you feeling worse off. However, um, you can go to the gym, you can get into organizations, you can seek this validation from other people, you can be very career driven. You could have, and I have a post about this on my Instagram too, like you could have all the accolades, the lovers in your life, all the adrenaline rushes, accomplish so much, but you will continue to feel empty until you decide that you are enough for yourself. And that is why everyone should go to therapy. Now, or one of the reasons why everyone should go to therapy. So, once I understood that, guys, like once I understood I needed to be enough for myself, and then I became enough for myself, right? Because there was a whole process of getting to that point where I loved me despite, like, once I separated myself from like my accomplishments, my career, all these things that I'd accomplished in my life, and I decided I'm gonna be enough for myself, putting this to the side. That's when things shifted for me. And so now what quote unquote motivates me, and all of these things like my career, my life, and so on, it's, I don't purely believe in motivation. Discipline now is something that motivates me, like having the discipline to do something and then seeing the small results over time. Those results motivate me. And when I decide to be disciplined to do something, showing up for myself when I don't feel like showing up, that motivates me. So for example, if I wake up in the morning, I'm super tired, I told myself, hey, I'm gonna go to the gym, and then I actually wake up and do it. Like in that moment, I'm not motivated, but I wake up and do it. And after I'm done with the gym, then all of a sudden I'm motivated because I just stacked a win. Now, if you struggle with like stacking wins, honoring your word to yourself, I highly recommend the Bedros Keuilian show. And now I will say that show is more so geared towards men, but if you are a boss in your life, a hustler, I think that you will find a lot of the nuggets of wisdom there helpful. Of course, opinions are subjective and whatnot, but I find for me, I really like a lot of the things that Bedros Keuilian says, and I found him a little bit later on in like my own journey, but great podcast nonetheless. But he talks about stacking wins. Like if you're consistently stacking wins in your life, when you say, I am going to do this, and then you do it, you are proving to yourself that you are a trustworthy person to yourself. And when you begin to stack those wins in your life, that's how you become confident. That's how you start leveling up in your life. That's what motivates me. When I started, like I stopped making all the bullshit excuses for all the things I wanted to do, or more so to become the person I wanted to be, and I just said, hey, I'm just gonna fucking do it. Once I started stacking those little wins, that's what motivates me. Now, then we get into the purpose. Guys, like I have struggled a lot. And this is like for example, like the book that I'm writing, there is a part of it that's a self-fulfillment for me, to get it all down on paper, to, I guess you could say in a way, like close a chapter, relive it all once, and then sign it off. But a big part of it is I recognize, and this is the reason why I create my content, like I recognize how much work it took me to get here on, like by myself. I had no one to coach me. I didn't have anyone to tell me, go to therapy, do things this way, work on yourself, like read these books, blah 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 blah. I had to fight through tooth and nail, and luckily I had enough, I guess you could say, some of that like temporary motivation to get me to where I am today. And then I built the discipline, and now I'm here. But I recognize there's like, I wish I didn't have to have struggled as much. I know I'm not the only person that has this sort of story, that has gone through this trauma, that's also first generation. And at the same time, someone who cares about just becoming their best self. And so that's my purpose. Like I just want to see other people win. I want to see other people not struggle as much as me. And selfishly, if I can be a person to like sprinkle some sazon into their life, that makes me very happy, to fill someone else's cup, to serve, to nurture, to be that person that I didn't have. I think in a way it also helps me like heal my inner child of, there were there were characters in my life, people, temporary people I came and went, but they had such a large impact because they just spent minutes, hours, days with me, where they gave me that support, where they did give me that advice. Like, I know that a lot of times they say like, oh, I figured this all out on my own. And I think a big portion of that is true, but like, it did take a village. Like, there were people there, but when I say I had to do it alone, I mean, I didn't have like that consistency, like, in this case, like my parents, like my childhood, like all those things were very inconsistent with a lot of temporary people I came and went. But there were a few people that really went above and beyond to use that little bit of time that they had with me to plant those seeds and help me grow. And then I connected the dots, but 90% of the journey was definitely alone. So that's what motivates me. The growth that I've had, the breaking of the cycles, and my purpose and I guess you could say like my motivation to continue down this path. Like, one, I do want to become the greatest version of myself for me, just to see like what I'm capable of. But two, it is greatly and intensely fulfilling to help other people obtain and achieve that as well, or just to give them the push on their journey, because everyone wants to accomplish different things. In my channel, I talk about like, working in tech, like fitness and wellness, and so many other things that some of you guys could like give a rat's ass about, and like that's okay. I'm not trying to get people on my journey. Everyone's on their journey. I just want to give them some spice into their life to push them on the journey that they're on, even if it's completely unrelated to anything that I'm interested in. You feel what I'm saying? So anyways, I know that's a long-winded answer, but I didn't want to give a BS one. I wanted to keep it real. And yeah, like if you're interested in like this sort of thing and like what I'm talking about, I highly recommend my book, which is not out yet. I'm still writing it, still in the process of like going through publishers and finding a broker and like a million and gazillion things. But it will be out. I do have some poems that are in my book. My book is a book based on poems, so it's a bunch of different poems walking you through the story and so on. But I do have some of these filmed on my Instagram that you can listen to, tune into. Some of them are in English, some of them are in Spanish. Ingrid Project, that's where the IG's at. And that's where I have like a lot of other content that I mentioned in this video, and reels and whatnot. So anyway, go take a look if you're interested. And yeah, like, thank you for this question to everyone that was interested. It gave me an opportunity to really sit down and put the pieces together. It's something I hadn't really asked myself in a while. And intentionally like really thought like, hey, what does this mean to me? And it's a wonderful reminder of where I was, who I am now, and where I want to be. And I'm glad that I get to be a part of your life in some way. And I hope that I can continue to add spice into your life y cafecito. So anyway, thank you so much, guys. Stay tuned for the next episode.